The Super Media Bros podcast is a founding member of the OddPods Media Network. Dude, can you believe it was like 6 years ago the first one came out?
Yeah, only because it's like synonymous with my senior year of high school, so.
Now I feel old.
Well, BVS, Civil War, California.
Yeah, I really feel old. This feels like another lifetime ago. Welcome to the Super Media Bros podcast, where two best friends give comedically informative takes on movies, music, pro wrestling, and more. I'm Richie.
I'm Devin.
And welcome to Spooky Media Bros 2023. We are going to kick this son of a bitch off just like we did last year. Last year, we kicked off Spooky Media Bros with the movie Terrifier, and this year we're kicking it off with its sequel, Terrifier 2, which most of the time sequels don't come hard out the gate in horror, because I'm coming from an era of like where Nightmare on Elm Street had come out, but then like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 had come out, and then it wasn't as well received, and then it took like hit or misses here and there, and then like Friday the 13th, which is an up and down roller coaster franchise. Child's Play, which Child's Play is one of the most, if not the most consistent horror franchise outside of Evil Dead, probably.
I was going to say Evil Dead has no misses as far as I'm concerned.
Right. But as we said last year, Art the Clown definitely deserves to belong upside like Michael Myers, Voorhees, Krueger, all these guys. And we're getting a proper sequel that takes place immediately after the end of the first one. And holy shit, this movie felt bigger in scope, in lore, everything.
And in budget, which is so funny because, like,
it wasn't even a big budget.
It wasn't, but to me, it's like, you look at it and it's like, it's not that it looks like it has a big budget, but it just feels like everything that the first one was, but bigger. But here's the thing. I'm going to say it right now, just because we're on the subject of the budget. I don't care what the budget for the third one is. I want it to look the same. Like, I want this to be the aesthetic of Terrifier.
I don't think it's going to change because of Damien Leone. Like, I don't think it's going to change whatsoever, because like it's his creative vision. And I feel like budget-wise, maybe that gets pumped into like the practical effects. Maybe it gets pumped into location. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have the power to make those aspects bigger. Keep it simple, but make the lore, make the scope bigger. Hell, it might even go towards visual effects. Given where this movie fucking went, dude, given where this went, it might go towards like visual special effects.
Whoever did makeup, keep that person.
Oh, absolutely. So the plot of this movie picks up immediately after the first one. We're assuming you've all seen the first one, by the way. Spoilers abound. So he's resurrected. Like, we last see Art with his brains blown out in the fucking coroner's office, but bro, he fucking kills the shit out of that dude. Like, he gets resurrected by, like, we don't, and that's the thing about this movie too, is like, it takes more of like a supernatural kind of thing, but it doesn't explain how or why, really. And I'm thinking maybe part 3 will do that.
Probably. It's crazy because whenever the first one ended, the first time I watched it, I wouldn't say sour that it went supernatural, but I was like, oh man, it was way creepier whenever it was just some guy. Because you kind of look at it from the perspective of that, and it's like, there really are some sick-minded people that are like Art.
That's true, but I think this opens it up to do a little more.
Right, because once I saw that they were making a sequel, and then I saw the vision for what it was, which is kind of we'll get to it later, but that's a weird Terrifier trend with me, is being like, well, that's not the direction I would go. And then later on, after thinking about it, I'm like, no, wait, actually, hold on. Y'all might be cooking something.
Right. And I'm sitting here like, let it fucking cook.
Yeah, dude.
Like, for real,
They're
for real.
Cooking.
So he murders the shit out of this guy, in which I should say the hammer that he chooses to murder him with is like fucking goddamn tiny, bro. Like, I'm talking like, This man done look like you remember those old like toy those toys with the little trinket that you like hammer the fucking like the shape into the hole.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. I was like, man, what the fuck is he gonna do with it? Bash his brains right the fuck in.
Dude, it's such a fucking art move.
It was artistic, if you will.
It was, yeah. No, like, and that's the thing. Right out of the gate, this movie is gory as shit.
Dare I say more so than the first one?
Oh, I think that it's because of the runtime too, is that they had more room to be more explicit. Core memory was Halloween night, my whole friend group sitting down and watching it. My house was so packed, I had to sit on the floor because we were all there.
Right.
It's like 12 of us. There were several people that was like, oh, God, I feel sick. Jalil had to stand up and like pace a little bit because he was getting lightheaded.
Oh, shit.
Like, dude, there were some of us that was just like, what the fuck?
I very rarely encounter anybody that is that squeamish to shit like this in horror. But, dude, I feel like the entirety of the opening sets the tone for the rest of this because Art the Clown is not without a little bit of dark humor.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think we mentioned this last year where this is as close to a Freddy Krueger as you would get with a different character as far as like the humor being just very, because he doesn't speak.
Right.
You know, obviously, like, that's the charm, is that he's got these fugly ass teeth and this really fucked up grin, but his eyes do all the emoting. So when he's just kind of like, you know, like he doesn't say it, but you almost hear it. It's kind of how Hugo Weaving did in V for Vendetta, where he made the mask fucking look like it was moving, but it wasn't.
Judge Dredd as well.
Yeah, dude.
Like, no, the guy playing Art, like, to me, that
David Howard Thornton just did such a great job.
Well,
again.
That's the thing. I know his name, but it's like anytime I look at the OG Freddy, I'm like, no, you're Freddy.
You're not Robert, you're Freddy.
Yeah, like I can't do it. It's the same way where I'm like, you are that person, and I fucking love you for it.
Same. Like, so he goes to a goddamn laundromat, which, first of all, when he's leaving the coroner's office, all the police just passing by, and he's just walking out with this big ass garbage bag of bullshit, and he's just like, you know, they're just kind of passing it like, whatever. So he goes to this fucking laundromat covered in blood. Some dude is just there. He rolls in there, undresses, throws his shit into the washing machine, and sits down ass naked with a newspaper, and he's laughing at like the obituary and murder section of the newspapers, and I'm just like, this is fantastic. But then he starts seeing visions of like this entity. It's like a little girl in like clown attire that looks almost exactly like him that interacts with him, and you're thinking, oh, she's there, but you don't realize it's just in his head until the other guy that's in the laundromat just looks at him playing patty cake with nobody, and he's just like, what the fuck? And then it just cuts to Art getting his shit clean out of the washing machine, putting it on, and then leaving, and that dude has a mop handle just impaled through his fucking head, just bleeding out after he's cleaned the fucking place, mind you.
Yeah. He is a man of culture. He has learned since the last film. He's like, let me clean up after myself. This is just foul.
He fucks up a lot of shit in this movie. Like, that's kind of where we get like the whole like title sequence piece right there and everything. But then like it's a year after this that we get introduced to what this movie's characters are going to be. It's a brother and a sister. Was it Sienna and Jonathan? Yeah. Dude, look, their mom's a bitch.
Dude, that's the thing. Is like when I was watching it, there were some scenes where I'm like, no, she's not wrong. But then other moments I'm like, you're a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like you.
Yeah, I never once got won over by her. Like, you know, like you know how like some of these movies have like redemption arcs with certain characters. I was like, okay, maybe the mom is gonna have some kind of moment where she gets redeemed or where she's like doing the right thing. No, she's kind of a fucking cunt through and through. And then even when there's like slight little bit, I'm still like, nah, you're still so much of a bitch that it outweighs it.
Right. Like I felt that same way, but the only time I felt levity was whenever it was like where they were talking about the candle situation.
Right. Okay.
And she's like, what did I say?
Yeah. Because we get the impression that Sienna is very artistic with like cosplay shit, Halloween attire. It's implied that her father was the same way. He drew a lot of shit. He was very artistic, and he's dead. Obviously, he's not in the picture anymore. And that is a source of trouble with the siblings because they're both kind of handling it differently. The mom is handling it way fucking differently. And that's a subplot where like that family unit does but does not get along. Then they don't all see eye to eye. And the dad died of a brain tumor, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that also, believe it or not, actually comes into play later because, spoilers again, there's some supernatural elements that sit with Sienna, and it's implied that the brain tumor wasn't like the tumor. It's implied that maybe he had a little bit of supernatural shit going on himself. That's not explicitly stated, but it's very heavily implied. That comes into play later. The brother, Jonathan, is obsessed with Art the Clown, though. Like, he keeps reading like all these old obituaries and news reports of how, because they never found the body.
Yeah, I cannot lie. Jonathan is absolutely who Devin was. I would say anytime between 20 to 16 years ago, like, there's a huge gap where I was just obsessed with all of that kind of shit.
I will tell you right now, some people will understand this reference. Some people may not. But for those of you that do, rotten.com was a fucking thing.
Yes, sir. Oh, I can't reach.
Okay, there you go. That was a good high
five.
Yeah, this desk is too long. Anyway, so yeah, rotten.com was a thing. And a lot of motherfuckers visited that shit because it showed like really grotesque shit. And it would show like, oh, this person fucking escaped and like did these murders. And it's like,
that accompanied with unsolved mysteries, dude. I was a warped child. Like, I would watch shit like that, or basically any murder documentary, any like crime scene investigation show, like all of it.
Dude, what if Art the Clown? What if Art the Clown was on Unsolved Mysteries? Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, find out what happened to an elderly couple when they went to the circus and got mind-fucked and butt-fucked by a clown. I really feel like Art the Clown would have done some fucked up shit like that because he's done a lot of fucked up shit in this movie.
Dude, if there was like, obviously with the supernatural stuff, it wouldn't be the same, but like if there was a guy like Art the Clown that was as sadistic but just kept evading the police, for example, and it was local, dude, I would be reading everything, not to prepare myself, but just because I was like, oh, that's fascinating.
Like, just the way you were like, oh, that's fascinating. Like,
yeah, like,
elderly couple is butt fucked by clown. Oh, that's fascinating. Dude, that's what I fucking pictured.
Honest to God, like, my basic white girl comes out in two ways. I love pumpkin spice.
But same.
And I love, like, any, like, true crime shit.
I feel it. Dude, imagine if Unsolved Mysteries was a podcast. Like, that would have been, that's what it would be now instead of, like, a television show back then.
Do they not? They should.
I'm unsure, but...
if they don't, they should, because I know Dateline has one.
This is true.
I'll look into that.
You should. Back to Art the Clown. So Jonathan finds... So Jonathan wants to dress as Art for Halloween, and he's become extremely like hyper fixated on him, finding sketches of him and his victims in his dad's sketchbook. And we're getting to the fire because like Sienna has been building this set of wings for a costume that she's gonna wear, and when she falls asleep, dude, she has this really fucked up dream about Art the Clown being on. It looks like some TV show.
Yeah.
Or he's like, what? He's in a food truck and he's, these kids are singing, but it's like young adults to like older teens dressed up like kids on this playground thing. And this motherfucker just hoses their asses with a Tommy gun at one point. And I'm just like, Jesus.
And then a flamethrower.
Dude, I love the fire stunt where old girl was still playing guitar and dancing around. I was like, oh, that's top tier for me.
Yeah, dude. Like, The thing is this movie throughout is it's very long. There's no need for the runtime that it has.
What was it, like 140 minutes roughly? Like, it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes at least.
Yeah, 218, I believe.
Yeah, it's a fucking long movie.
Yeah, and like for a slasher movie,
yeah,
there's no need for that. The issue is, I've seen a lot of people say that they would cut that scene out entirely. Yes and no. It is foreshadowing, first of all. Second of all, if you cut that scene out completely altogether, the scene from her going to sleep to her waking up is like too much. So I wouldn't have cut it out, but I feel like it's a perfect example of the one criticism that I have with this movie is that there's not, but maybe a couple of scenes where there's not like chunks of frames that you can cut entirely.
Right, like you couldn't cut pieces or like the whole thing, because the way, like, you're right though, because the way the movie is framed, even with the runtime, everything has its purpose in a sense.
Right, and it feels like it's all very like, this would be a very fun extended edition.
This would be a good TV series.
That too, yeah. I just feel like it's almost overindulgent in its own framing. I believe the director was also the one that edited himself. And he
did. Yeah.
Yeah. I think next time for the third one, hire an editor. Like, the movie that you directed, fantastic. Just get somebody to, like, you know, make it a little snappy.
Yeah, cut the fat a little bit too. Yeah, because I'll be honest, man, like that's the beauty of having an editor that either works alongside you or is just like, hey, like I'm gonna make the decisions that you are having a difficult time making.
Right.
Because I'm kind of doing the same thing with a project I'm working on with a friend of mine, where we have a shitload of stuff that's filmed. It's somewhat completed, but we're going through and getting rid of things to trim runtime.
Right.
And where it's like, you know, I understand where he's coming from, where it's like, oh, this is really good. This is good too. This is good too. And I'm sitting there like, okay, but this doesn't flow from one to the next. And we don't butt heads, but it's just like, that's what I'm there for. It's just like, hey, this is where like, this needs to get cut. This needs to go, because I wanted to do editing. That was my, like, whenever I was in high school and I was thinking about doing college, like there wasn't a good film school around here, so I didn't think anything of it, but like I wanted to do editing because that was my fucking thing. Yeah. Because I love seeing how one scene goes from the next and what's going to flow the best and what's going to make sense, what camera cuts need to happen with other angles and all that shit. For Damien to have edited this movie, he did a great job, but I think, like you said, and it's true, get another person to offer up their perspective, because that person may have an edge or see something that he does not, and it could probably really, I think that like this might have been the downfall of the movie was the runtime. Yeah. Trim, if they could have trimmed it, what, 20, 30 minutes at most? Yeah, like probably, like it still would have been a very beefy runtime for the genre. But, you know, I saw some people online saying, man, there's no reason for it to be any more than an hour and a half. No. An hour and 50 minutes, maybe. Yeah, like I can absolutely see a top-notch 2-hour movie. 220 though? It's a bit much. Yeah. So we're going to cut through a lot of this, obviously, because we would be, if we really wanted to sit here, we could have a fucking 4-hour discussion on this goddamn movie. Yeah, because we both loved the movie, so. Yeah. So like on Halloween, Jonathan winds up seeing Art, and he sees the girl. Weirdly, they're playing with a dead possum, and they fucking throw it at him. And his teacher thinks that he has killed this animal and has like spread the blood all over the ground and all this other shit. And at the same time, Sienna is like going through a fucking anxiety attack when she's trying to like discuss the meltdown that she had because of the fucking fire and all that shit. So the kids are fucked up. And the costume shop scene where she's trying to get the replacement wings because hers burnt the fuck up. Bro, when Art's just like walking around, like fucking with her with a goddamn horn, I was anxiety. Like, oh my God. But this, when he's fucking putting the flower sunglasses on, I was like, oh, this motherfucker here is just like, he's such a douchebag. He's something else, man. Like he's fucking great. But then old girl, she leaves, right? She pays for shit and goes. Art is sitting there just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna purchase a little something. I'm gonna purchase this bicycle horn. And the dude behind the counter is just like, all right, that'll be like, what he said? He was like, oh, that'll be like $8.99. And Art's just like holds his finger up, digs in his trash bag. He's putting like chains, fucking rusty ass wrenches and pliers up there. And this guy's like, are you serious? Right? Are you going to pay for this or not? And he's about to kick him out and call the police. And then Art just starts counting like crumpled $1 bills and putting like fucking change down like an old lady. And this dude is just fed up with his shit. So he pretty much is just like, you know, bro, I'm fucking calling the cops. And Art's like, no, you ain't. And kills the shit out of this fucking dude. Bro, this was one of the most, like, not the most violent thing I've seen in either of these movies or any movie for that matter, but I love how they just did not shy away from showing the impact of, like, the blade and him chopping his fucking head off. And
yeah, and the eyes still moving and everything. Like,
God.
Dude, okay, and that's the thing, too, is what makes these movies so fun to me is it's not that watered down bullshit of like, oh, the camera's going to cut and we're going to leave it to your imagination. Like, no, there's no imagination here. You're seeing everything. You are getting what you paid for. And it's kind of refreshing in a way because the Terrifier movies, yeah, they do have substance in the sense of like there is a lore, but they're not trying to be anything that they're not. Like, you and I get our rocks off of like Hereditary, Skinamarink, like stuff that we can like
dig our fucking teeth into, man. Right. That's some good shit.
And we love that. But damn it, sometimes it's nice to just sit back and say, what do I love about horror movies? Let's bring some like fun, disturbing imagery. Let's fucking go. And also, for a crowd-funded movie, it's refreshing in the sense that the director was like, all right, well, you guys paid for this movie.
Here's the quality.
Yeah. You paid for it, and you're paying for a ticket to see it. We're going to give you what you paid for. You want to see Art do fucked up shit.
And dude, for $250,000,
hey, bro, there ain't
well
nothing,
spent.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, because the box office was fucking $15.4 million on this thing.
What is that, like 300% profit?
That's a lot, dude.
Like, fuck.
It's a lot. So that dude gets fucking moited as hell. And I had to laugh because there's a kid and his mom that pass by with a closed sign or whatever the fuck, and he is just standing with the shittiest shit-eating grin you've ever seen in your life, and he's holding the dude's head, and he's just like, you know, it's like a big fucking grin, and he fucking like moves a little bit, and the kid's like, oh, cool, and I'm like, yeah. And then as soon as the kid turns around, and Art just yeets the fucking head like he's just so like disgusted with it, he's just like, fuck this, and he just leaves. Jesus Christ, dude. So Jonathan winds up showing the sketchbook to Sienna and their mom, and he believes that like their dad knew what to do, like to stop Art, but he's not believed. And Barbara, like the mom, fucking rips the book up, and she smacks the shit out of him.
Which, that's the part where I'm like, all right, now you're irredeemable, because it's like, number one, your kid is trying to tell you something, and you know that he's traumatized by the loss of his father. You slap the shit out of him, which is already going to be fucked up. But also, dude, this is like one of his only heirlooms of his father, and you just tore it up. Like,
yeah, what a bitch.
Like, am I the only one that processed that aspect?
Nope, because I did the same fucking thing. When she ripped that up, like, I was just like, are you fucking... Like, I said it out loud. I was like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
And in that very moment, I was like, I hope she gets the fuck killed out of her.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Has anybody ever seen the movie, the 1980 classic Maniac? Has anybody ever seen the 1980 classic Maniac?
Yee.
All I'm going to say is this is on par with a specific kill in that movie that is played on every fucking horror YouTube channel you will ever come across, as far as a reference to one of the most mind-blowing, pun intended, kills that you've ever fucking seen in your life. We'll get to it later. So after he runs the fuck away, Barbara figures out that her car has been vandalized while not around. Sienna is at a party where she is given Molly by her friend Brooke, because her friend is like, hey, you need to like get your mind off of this shit. And, you know, she starts having a panic attack, and then she sees the little pale girl and she's like, I want to go home. Like, she's already called her mom. And like, this is where they tried to redeem her mom, but I still didn't give a fuck.
No, me neither.
Because she's pissed off. She thinks that Jonathan vandalized her car. And Sienna's like, dude, you're that pissed off over a little bit of fucking toilet paper and shaving cream? Like, get real. So she goes out to clean it, and Art is in the car, and he has like the most snub-nosed, sawed-off shotgun you've ever fucking seen. Like, there's no barrel, basically. No. Dude, he blows her head the fuck off. Like, I'm talking, there's nothing left.
It was fucking hilarious, because that's another part of Art that I love, is he loves to be fucking sick. Okay, like, I don't care if it's Freddy or Jason, any of them. I'd rather be killed by them than Art. But Art is also like, hey, bro, sometimes I gotta be efficient.
Yeah, and then he likes to play around too, because there's this other girl that he goes trick-or-treating, which this is a funny fucking scene. Like, he's like holding this trash bag out, and she's just like, what the fuck? You're like an adult. Like, are you really out here trick-or-treating? Are you really not gonna leave until I give you candy? And he's just like shaking his head like, yeah. She's like, all right, fucking take it. Bro, that chick, I don't know. Okay, so like between the dude at the costume shop and that girl, I'm pretty fucking sure that she got it worse.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
I kept saying,
that felt personal.
I kept asking myself the whole time, how is she still alive?
Dude,
bro.
Did she owe him money?
I don't know. He beat her like she fucking did, though. Like, he fucking scalped her. He broke her fucking arm and then ripped it off at the elbow. He sliced and stabs the shit out of her. Her mom comes home, opens her bedroom door, and she is sitting up against the headboard of her bed, like brain leaking out. Her face is sliced in half pretty much. Her fucking arm is missing. She's just, and Art is like eating and fucking playing with pieces of her. And he just like looks at her and just fucking claps his hands and is waving and silently laughing, and she is flipped the fuck out. And the girl is like, has enough breath to just muster. And I'm like, kill this fucking chick already. God damn. Like, even if she lived through it, I'd tell whoever the fuck had me on whatever was keeping me alive to pull the fucking plug.
Dude, that's the thing, is like, is he just injecting her with fucking like adrenaline or something?
I don't think so, but Jesus Christ, if he were, fuck, man.
That's another question though. Like, what are the kills going to be in the third one?
I know, like, that's what I keep asking myself. It's like, how are they going to top this? Because, like, there's one instance where he's just hammering or axing this one fucker in the chest, and, like, the face and the chest are caving in. There's nothing left. This girl gets fucked up beyond literally all recognition. And it's weird because, like, that might actually be the most gory death in this movie, and there's already been a fuckload of it. And not even at the end. Like, we don't get anything really super gory at the very end, even.
No, I feel like it's more brutal in the sense of like the actual physicality.
Right. Because like we'll go ahead and like we'll get to the ending and we'll get to like the post, mid credits, all that shit, and have more of a discussion about that. But first, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna hit you with the end of this. You're listening to the Super Media Bros on the OddPods Media Network. Don't go anywhere.
This is Beer in Front. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we get those check-ins and badges. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. That's Beer in Front, part of the OddPods Media Network.
All right, so let's get to the end of this motherfucker. So, like, the pale girl and Art have taken Jonathan because he ran away. We don't even know what the fuck happened to him. So it turns out that he is kidnapped by Art and the pale girl. And I thought this was a really cool way. You know how everybody's like, oh, say the movie title in a movie, or like, hey, there's the movie title in a movie. Takes this kid to the fucking carnival that was in town, and they are pretty much using like his voice. They're emulating his voice. And he calls his sister and he's like, hey, I'm at the carnival. I'm stuck here. I need you to come get me. And she gets the two, friends of hers that were supposed to take her home to just go there. So like the two friends wind up like this dude gets stabbed in the fucking dick, by the way. He just gets out to take a piss
and ripped it off.
Bro, I was hurting the whole time.
Yeah, dude. I was like, oh God.
I was like, shit, man. Like the way he just like Art just rolls up to the window while she's still there and he just rubs the bloody dick all over and he's just like, like, oh, dude. That's so fucking funny.
He didn't give a fuck throughout this whole movie.
No, dude. He kills the shit out of both of those people. But when Sienna is in this carnival, he texts her and he's like, I'm trapped in a ride. And she's like, what ride? And he's like, the Terrifier. And I'm like, that is such a fucking cool way to put the movie title in here and having it be the namesake of one of the carnival attractions.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially like this really weird, like Mirror Maze haunted clown house kind of fucking thing. It looks straight out of Texas Chainsaw 2 under whenever they go to the little underground shit.
Yeah.
But this is where the movie like really leans more into the supernatural aspect. First of all, they all eventually do run into each other. Art beats the shit out of her with like I think like this fucking homemade like cat o' nine tails like piece of equipment from the first movie he had. And bro.
Wore her ass out, dude.
Yeah, dude. And he cuts up Jonathan with a scalpel and shit a little bit. And dude, they kill Art so much, but he won't fucking die.
Yeah, like he gets shot with his own shotgun that blew their mom's fucking brains out.
He gets fucking stabbed in the head, like fucking sliced up, all kinds of shit, dude. And he winds up killing Sienna, absolutely, and dumps her in this fucking hole in the ground and throws her sword, which was like something that she got from her dad as well, and he throws it down there. And with no real explanation given, the sword is magic, and it resurrects her because she's eventually, like, I guess in her mind, she's in this water tank.
Yeah, that was the foreshadowing from the dream sequence, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this water torture cell, but the sword resurrects her and she comes out of this fucking hole in the ground and man, she goes ham on him.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about earlier whenever I was talking about like how in both of the movies, at a certain point, I was like, okay, is that where we're taking the lure here? And because at first I was like, well, she's magic too. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, my first watch, I didn't. It's been a year now, and I kind of like softened up on it. I'm like, whoa, wait, they are making a third one. Let's see what they explain. If after that third one, it's just like the Star Wars sequel trilogy where it's like by the end of it, I still think part 2 did something stupid, then yeah, sure. But I waited patiently to see what they got in store for the third one.
True. But it's just kind of wild to me where like there's no real actual explanation. Like we keep saying that over and over again, but again, probably purposely done because that might be the attraction to part 3 is to find out what the fuck.
Yeah, that's what I have to assume.
Yeah. So she kills the shit out of him and cuts his head off, like just decapitates the piss out of him. But the little pale girl shows up and takes his head and does not have any kind of like attack on Jonathan or Sienna at this point. And the movie ends there. But we get a mid-credit sequence where Victoria, the girl that had her face fucked up from the first movie, like gave that interview on TV. And that was a whole ass other plot here where that girl like fucking killed the television host or whatever.
Right.
She's in an institution where we get a cameo from Chris Jericho, which I thought was fucking hilarious, by the way.
It was. This was like Judas Jericho too, like hefty Jericho.
Yeah. Where my boy was bulking up.
Yes, sir.
So he's sitting there like having this whole conversation about the fucking candies that his wife made for him. He's like, oh yeah, put some of the eyeballs on that plate. It was just so funny. Like it's just like he's so good. He's so naturally charismatic and good at shit like this. He's He brought like a good like chunk of comic relief after like all the heaviness you see towards the end.
Right.
But the nurse that's working alongside him, here's like shit going on in the chamber, and she opens the door. Victoria is in this room and she's puking like everywhere, and then she's writing Vicky and Art in blood and like a whole bunch of like cunt and fuck you and like all this shit all over the wall. But she's also like bleeding vaginally because she fucking gives birth to Art's head that is still alive, and they cut right there with the nurse like screaming in horror. Where are they going with this now?
Right. That's my thing is I have no idea where they're going. You have to assume that they're going to pull a Deadpool on part 3 where it's this giant normal sized head on a little bitty baby body just walking around. That has to be the opener.
Would die laughing.
Dude.
I would fucking legitimately just scream.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm going to make that prediction. I think that something along those lines is going to be in it.
Fuck, I hope so. So here's some shit about part 3
Okay.
that we can leave everybody off with. As of last October, Leone said that he had an entire treatment done for a third movie, but that it was so big that it could potentially be split into a part 4 because he doesn't want to make another 2-hour and 20-minute movie. So right now they're working with a low, mid 7-figure budget. So probably like, I would say fucking 3-4 million, maybe 5.
Wow.
Yeah. Which that's a shitload more than the fucking, like, if it was $5 million, that's 20 fucking times the budget they had for this one.
Yeah, it's
good.
Wow.
Yeah. So David Howard Thornton and Lauren Lavera, the girl that played Sienna, they're both gonna be in it. And as of July of this year, principal photography wrapped. So it's in the can. It just needs to be edited, and they are hoping for an October 2024 release.
The streets won, baby.
I'm telling you. And the coolest part about this entire franchise is that this sequel was made based on the strength of the video on demand market of the first film. And then this movie did so well with the hype train that they actually put this in like a small run of theaters, not a very big one. And this movie still did $14.5 million. Like, horror is alive and well, dude.
Yeah.
Like, people need to realize that studios, whenever the fucking strikes are done, need to realize that horror has a fucking place in theaters because it will make money. Like, it's almost impossible to tank a film franchise with a tiny ass budget. Horror almost always has a great turnaround.
I know. And it makes me happy because it's one of my favorites. Like, and that's the thing too is, okay, obviously when things get commercially successful, there's going to be a little bit of cynicism that goes along with it. But we've had some stinkers in the horror genre since the beginning of the genre. You know, nothing has changed there. But I feel like right now there's a bit of a renaissance of smart horror, even though that's not what this series prides itself on. It's still like, guys, there are different ways to make these movies. It doesn't have to be copy and paste, you know, and you can still make them. Like, don't let this be comedy where, think about it like this. How often do you hear, nope, that movie was just full-fledged, no subgenre, just a comedy?
Barely.
Now, go back 10 years ago. How many were there?
Oh, shitload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all the fucking time. Like, it seemed like there was 3 of them in theaters at once. Don't let that be horror. Keep making horror because, like, you let the independents run shop, you're going to get shit done.
And the reasoning behind that, and I know I'm speaking directly from your brain on this, what I'm about to say. The reason you let the independents run that shit is because they're fucking hungry.
Yep.
They want this shit more. They will do more with less. Because they've had to work with less for damn near the entirety of learning how to do this shit. They know what's going to get fucking done with what they have. Let them do it. For fuck's sake. This is a prime example. Like, we literally have a fucking brand new horror icon. Brand fucking new. That in my end, I know your opinion because we talked about this a year ago, is in the fucking same discussion as every horror legend that has been around since the fucking 1980s.
Yeah. And it's great to see, because how many times have you and I off air talked about, dude, where are the like icons?
Exactly. Like, we haven't had, okay, we legitimately have not had a brand new, and correct me if I'm wrong on who I'm going to mention, we literally have not had like a really brand new icon since like Ghostface and Jigsaw.
Yes, you can make an argument for Annabelle. Number one, it's based on a true story. Now, Annabelle did not look like that in real life, but in terms of filmmaking, I would say Annabelle. But also, I feel like Annabelle is tough, but in the same vein that I'd say Megan is tough, because we live in a world now where memes exist and memes are rapid fire, and then the meme dies very soon. So it's like the whole Megan TikTok dancing was huge for about a month. And then, yeah, we're getting a sequel. Hope it does well. But does anybody remember Megan as of this moment?
Probably not outside of that.
Right.
And that's the whole point. Is
great
what I was
movie, by
making.
the way.
Oh, fuck yeah, it was great. So the whole point that I know both of us are trying to make here is that, yes, there has not been like a really big icon since Ghostface, or hell, even Jigsaw. But the reason I say Ghostface more so than Jigsaw, because Jigsaw was like a different type of slasher. It was more of a man getting revenge and like all this other shit like that. But most of these slashers, like, sure, they do have motivation for like, oh, revenge. Like Freddy Krueger wanted revenge. Jason Voorhees wanted revenge. Michael Myers just had a fucking drive to kill, like in whatever timeline it was, to kill his fucking sister or to kill his family or whatever. Art the Clown just exists. And that's the best part about this. There's like, so far, I'm hoping that the lore that they're going to build does not take away from this, because I love that there is just this fucked up clown that has no reasoning at all for what he's doing. He just does it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's recognizable. Like, you look at the face and you're like, fuck yes. Like, so that's why I say he belongs in this discussion.
I went to a tattoo shop today, and there was a like a sticker.
Shout out Saints and Sinners.
Yes, sir. And there was like a sticker of like a stripper, and it had like, it wasn't the little pale girl. It was art. But you want to know something? I recognized that it was art instantly, even though it was on a stripper. It's like, that face is recognizable.
Yeah.
It's distinct.
Yeah.
Like,
don't change shit about it.
Yeah. That's what's missing in horror. I refuse to believe that this is a once in a generation thing. People just don't think about it for whatever reason.
Nope.
Because you know what? If you, as a writer-director, write a bad horror movie, like, yeah, the kills were okay, you know, there's potential, but dude, it was just a dog shit movie. You can have that. But if you have a fucking character that people give a shit about and are like, but that motherfucker, that could be something.
They'll turn out in droves to see this shit, dude.
They'll turn out in droves to see a sequel. The reviews are going to be, man, I'm just so disappointed that it is such a bad movie with such a cool concept and character. Keep making characters. Like, that's what carries the fucking industry.
To me, this one completely, it outdid the first one in a lot of ways, man.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of wrap this up, though, in terms of comparison, because there's going to be comparison, obviously. Like, I know we both feel like this one kind of outdid it, but I feel like in the gore kind of sense, is it the better of the two so far?
It gives you more of what you love about the first. I think the first one is more tightly knit, but yeah, I prefer the second one.
It's more entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that the first one's not, but it's much more entertaining.
Love the first one. Loved it. I was so hyped when it got a sequel.
Little trivia on this, see if you can guess it. What's the Rotten Tomato score on this bitch? Not that it matters to me, but I love picking your brain on this shit.
83?
85.
85.
Very close. Like, if this were The Price is Right, you probably would have fucking won. Like the Showcase Showdown.
I remember distinctly that whenever it first was revealed, it was 89.
But for it to have held the 85 is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I just thought, okay, well, critics are going to be critics, you know, like, it's definitely not a movie for people that aren't squeamish, you know, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to point out Felissa Rose's cameo in this movie, too. I forgot to mention that. Very, very, very famously was in Sleepaway Camp. She played Mrs. Principal. She was the fucking principal or one of the teachers. And I was just like, that's fucking Felissa Rose. I love seeing her. I see her all the time on Instagram at Comic Cons, and just, it's fucking A. But yeah, this movie kicked so much ass, and I'm excited for the third one. I know you are too.
Oh, yeah.
Spooky Media Bros is going to roll forward. So when we come back next week, we're going to hit you with a Cult Cinema Saturday episode. It's the only Cult Cinema Saturday of the month. And for this one, we are bringing a foreign horror film your way. It is known as, quote, Japanese Evil Dead because it technically is Japanese Evil Dead. It is a Japanese remake. But it's called...
Interesting.
Yeah, but it is called Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell.
Okay.
If you want to know, we're going from a movie that was by, I guess, like some opinions unnecessarily long. We're going from a 2-hour and 18-minute film to a 62-minute movie.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Yeah, they packed a lot in.
Okay.
So if you want to watch this movie before checking out the episode we're going to drop on it, it is on Tubi, and you can definitely find it for free to stream. I own a physical copy of this because why the fuck not? So come check that out. And after that, we'll tell you what you're getting. Like, if you haven't watched the trailer for this month, like, we'll tell you what you're going to get on that episode for our third episode of the month. So stick around. You gotta tune in to find out, motherfuckers. Visit supermediabrospodcast.com for past, present, and future episodes. Check out all the other shows on the OddPods Media Network by visiting oddpodsmedia.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on social media, leave us a rating review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, GoodPods, and Podchaser. Other than that, thanks for hanging out with us this week. We're going to get out of here. We got more horror movies to fucking watch and more shit to take in for the rest of this month.
Yes, sir.
This has been Terrifier 2, episode 295. Until next time, I've been Richie.
I'm Devin.
Shades on.
We're off.